Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Must Know Go. So in the first video, we took a look at the 5 most common opening moves in the corner. In this video, we'll be looking at a couple of follow-up sequences to this move, the 4-4 opening. As I mentioned in the last video, there are 3 common approach moves at A, B, and C to the 4-4 stone. In this video, we're only going to be looking at A and its follow-ups. So this move is referred to as the low approach, to differentiate it from B, which is the high approach. And this move is by far the most common against a 4-4 stone, because it's aiming at the corner, and it's also on the third line, which makes it easy to make a base on this side. As I mentioned, the 4-4 stone is mostly concerned with making influence toward one of the sides, or possibly toward the center, and it's less concerned with the corner. The sequences that we are going to be talking about today are commonly referred to as joseki. Joseki is a Japanese phrase, and it essentially means an equal result from a common position, usually one of these corner positions. There are many joseki from the low approach here. In this video, we're going to primarily be looking at 2 of them, and 1 variation for each. So as I said in the previous video, one of the main things about the 4-4 stone is that it's symmetrical. It's not biased toward one side of the board or the other. So the most common reply to this move is actually to mirror it and play this move on the other side. I often refer to this as pulling back, and this is the low 1 space pullback. And the advantage of this move is that it's very solid, it's very strong. There's no easy way for white to get some kind of an attack on these 2 stones, because for the most part they are connected. So once black has played this move, his cornerstone now is much stronger because it has the support of this stone at 017. So white is going to follow up by making this stone stronger. So white typically doesn't just go and make a base here. Instead, what white does is play here, this slide. And what this does is it threatens to take away the corner by playing another move at R17, and it helps support the R14 stone. Again, these 2 stones are pretty much connected, and since it's threatening to take away the corner here, it's threatening to undercut these 2 black stones. So now there's a vital point here, where both players can make a base in the corner by playing it, and that is at R17. And generally, when there is a point that both players want, it is a good idea, if it's your turn, for you to take it. So that is black's next move. Now, because of this move, black is kind of threatening these 2 stones. They can't make their base in the corner anymore. So now white will come back and make a base on the side. And that's the end of this sequence. This is one of the most common joseki in Go. You will see this in professional games. You'll see it in a lot of amateur games. This one is very important to know, but more than just memorizing it, it's important to understand the reason behind each of these moves. So let's go back to the beginning here. Black plays a 4-4 stone, aiming mostly to have influence toward the sides or the center. White approaches low, possibly aiming to take the corner, aiming to not allow black to develop on this side of the board. Black then pulls back low, strengthening his stone, and developing something toward the other side of the board that white isn't playing on. White threatens to undercut and make a base in the corner, taking away the corner from black. Black plays the shared vital point, making a base for himself in the corner, and therefore denying white a base in the corner. And so white defends the stones by making a base along the side. And at the end of it here, black has a base in the corner, and his stones are very solid. White has a base on the side, his stones are fairly solid. Black has the initiative and gets to play the first move somewhere else. And so even though white is getting a bit more points here than black is getting up here, because black has the first move to play somewhere else, this result is considered equal for both sides. The first move somewhere else is a very valuable thing at the end of a joseki, because it allows you to control the flow of the game. And so, there has been a recent development in professional games with this joseki, where it starts off exactly the same. White plays low, black pulls back low, and then white plays here. But because that first move is so valuable, that ability to play somewhere else is worth so much, and because there are other possible follow-ups for black besides taking the corner like this, you're beginning to see in professional games that black will sometimes immediately play elsewhere from here. Black won't take the corner, and instead black will go and play some other large move on the board. Now, if you are white and your opponent does this, or if your opponent does this in just about any Joseki, an important thing to look at is, what if you then play there? So if black plays elsewhere, white then can take this point, and now white has established a base in the corner and has undercut black. However, black doesn't need to be too upset by this, because black can go over here and make a base for his stones over on this side. Additionally, this Q16 stone is pretty well placed. It's not like white's going to be building anything enormous over here. So while maybe this result is a little bit good for white, black has gotten an additional move somewhere else on the board. And so as a result, this is still equal. This is still perfectly playable by both sides, and you've begun to see this a lot more in professional games. And so if you're in a game and you're playing as black and white plays this slide, don't feel like you have to have a knee-jerk reaction of just taking this, because sometimes there are more important things. And that's an important thing to know in all Joseki, is that that first move somewhere else is very valuable. And while usually white will just respond over here, white can also ignore this move. The reason why ignoring this move as white is less common is because the follow-ups for black are a lot harsher if you don't make a base. So I would not recommend for newer players ignoring this move here. The result here for white is just fine. There's no reason to allow your opponent to get an attack on these stones, unless there's something very valuable on the board that you absolutely need and you cannot wait for. But what this Joseki variation shows here is that Tanuki, playing elsewhere, is always an option. You can always do that if you find something else on the board that is very valuable. And playing Joseki is not a mechanical process. It needs to be done with a purpose and with an understanding of what each of the moves is about. So that's the first Joseki, with these two variations. The next one that we're going to be looking at is the pincer, one space low. And the idea of this move is typically that white, by playing this approach, is denying black the ability to develop on this side of the board, or at least attempting to. And so by playing this pincer, black is hoping to be able to develop on this side of the board. However, by playing this stone, black has done nothing to defend the corner, or his 4/4 stone. And so the most common reply for white is to immediately play this 3/3 invasion point. So because generally black plays this pincer in the hopes of developing something on this side of the board, or possibly getting an attack on this stone, it makes sense that black's next move would be to keep these two stones separated. White then extends here, and this next move is very important. Black should play here, not this Hane. The reason black needs to play here is because this stone at R14 makes a big difference. It is separating black, and it actually makes this a pretty harsh move against these two stones. So black needs to be careful and extend here to stay strong and make sure he has enough liberties. White then will threaten to connect under, but black can block. White then connects, black connects, and then white comes here, making a base in the corner and making sure that black does not seal white in on the top side. And from here, black can play elsewhere. Black ends this sequence with a wall facing the side of the board that he wanted, with this white stone much weaker, possibly because black wanted to attack it. So black has accomplished what he needs to do in this area. White ends up with a good-sized corner that's open to the top side of the board, so white's not unhappy either. There are possible follow-ups in this situation, but I'm not going to be looking at those in this video. Just an important thing to remember is that while this stone is hurt, it is not dead. So it's important to remember that white has options to threaten to do things with this stone later on. So black can't really consider this area to be his point yet. However, black does end with the side that he wanted and gets to play the first move somewhere else, which is very valuable. Going back to here, I want to show you guys what to do if your opponent does play this Hane. You should not play it. It has occasionally shown up in professional games, but it is a very special purpose move because it can provoke a pretty serious fight if your opponent wants it to. But the calm way to respond to this move is, as white, you simply play this, the Hane at the head of 2 stones that threatens to connect under, just like what you would before. Black will still block, you connect, and black connects, and then you clamp on this side. And the reason that this clamp is effective is that black cannot stop white from connecting under, because if black plays here, this move threatens to capture the 2 black stones or all 4 of these black stones on the outside, and black can't deal with both threats at the same time. So instead, after the clamp, black needs to connect, and white plays under, and it's still black's move. Black can go on and play elsewhere, but it's important to note the difference here. In this variation, black's group here has 1 more liberty because this move has not been played, and the exchange has not been made to here. And this exchange, early in the game, is good for white, because by removing this liberty, it makes this wall weaker, which allows white to potentially use this stone more effectively. And it also defends against a possible threat of black playing this move later on, which aims at making a double threat here of either connecting back to the wall or connecting back to this stone. If this exchange has been made, this move is not a threat, because white's already taken this point. Black can't take it away for himself, and this cut doesn't work. So this pincer Joseki is a bit more complicated, but it's a very important one to remember because a lot of opponents are going to be playing this pincer, and there are going to be times when your opponent plays a move here and you do want to develop this side of the board. So we'll look at this again. White approaches low, hoping to prevent black from developing this side of the board and aiming at the corner. Black denies white the ability to make a base on the outside and puts some pressure on this stone. So, white takes the corner. Black splits the 2 stones. White strengthens his stone in the corner and puts pressure on these 2 black stones. So black extends, making sure that his stones are not weak. White threatens to connect under. Black blocks. White connects. Black connects. And white jumps. And black gets the first move somewhere else. So there's one more variation I want to show you guys leading from this pincer. And this variation is less common, but still important to know. So it starts off the same as before. Black plays a pincer, and white goes for the corner. But instead of separating, black decides that he would like a wall facing toward the top side of the board. And I'm going to add a black stone over here because this variation is really only commonly played when black has a stone somewhere in this region. So after white takes the corner, black blocks this way. And this gives up a lot. This allows white to connect and have a nice corner, but it allows black to seal white in a little bit better. And in particular, it aims toward taking the top side instead of toward taking the right side. White, of course, will connect. And then this next move is very, very important. Many players that I play against do not play this move. Even up to the 2Q level, I'm not sure why it's not played more often, but it is absolutely essential. It is a vital move for both sides, and the move is here. This move needs to be played. If black plays anywhere else on the board, white should immediately play this move. It is a Hane at the head of 2 stones against this, and it completely cuts black off from his stone over here. Black Hanes, and then white gets to play this double Hane with decent shape, and then black has to defend. Additionally, later on, this move is very harsh against these 2 stones. So because of this result, it is crucial that black does not allow white to play here. Black needs to play here himself. This move also exposes a weakness here at S15, the same kind of weakness that we looked at as a follow-up to the other pincer Joseki. But white doesn't want to just play S15 directly, and generally white doesn't really want to play R15. So it's a little bit better for white to play S14. This defends against the S15 weakness. It makes a little bit better shape for white, and it also aims later at an attachment at S12 to allow white to make an eye in this area. Now, the reason that this Joseki isn't played more often is because of the value of the first move somewhere else on the board, the value of Sente. This is not complete. If black were to play elsewhere, white could immediately play this and cut off black's stone. And this is not a good result for black. So instead, black will play here. And this shape is not, it's not totally connected, but it's connected enough. It has enough potential for connection that black can feel comfortable playing this way. However, it is now white's move, and white will get the first move somewhere else in the board. And that's the reason why black only plays this if black already has a stone here. Because if black does not have a stone here, and it's white's move, white will play here. And then even if black threatens the white stone by pincering it, white can make a base this way, and these 3 stones are not that strong. If black does something else, this cut is problematic. So it's very important for black that there be a stone here or somewhere in this area to prevent white from effectively counterattacking black's wall that he was building. So, let's take a look at this Joseki one more time. White approaches, black plays a pincer to attack this white stone, and white takes the corner. But in this situation, because black has a stone in this area, black has decided that he's willing to give up the first move somewhere else on the board in order to build a wall in this direction. So black blocks this way, allowing white to connect. White connects. Black takes the vital point. White defends himself. And then black connects up his stones, and white gets the first move somewhere else on the board. And so there you have it. 2 of the most common Joseki resulting from this low approach, with 1 variation for each. We have the most common one, noting that there is the possibility for black to tanuki here, and if white takes the corner, black can still make a base on this side. And we have the pincer, with its 2 variations. The first being that black keeps white separated, keeps himself strong, and then, after white makes a base, gets the first move somewhere else on the board. The second one being that because black has a stone in this area, black allows white to connect, makes sure to take the vital point, and then links up his stones. These Joseki show up many, many times. I've played them dozens of times. I've played against players who've played them dozens of times. If you play Go for any length of time, you will see all of these. I hope that you found this video to be informative, that it's allowed you to understand the reason behind moves in Joseki, and that you're able to come away from this not with just a rote memorization of the various Joseki moves, but with an appreciation for why these Joseki are played. So, stay tuned for my other must-know Joseki videos on the other opening moves. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Youngblade, and I hope that you all will have a wonderful day.